I think this is going to be my favorite piece of tech for 2023. Okay, review's over. Everybody can go home. Bye! Okay, it does have a couple of issues that I'm not quite excited about, but we'll get into those. This is the Samsung Galaxy Tab S9 Ultra, the biggest of the three in the S9 series, and it's my favorite new shiny thing. It's so shiny and pretty. As somebody who put Linux on my old Nexus 7 tablet back in the day, and I have not delved into tablets till this year, because I'm sporting the Google Pixel tablet and the S9 Ultra, this is a really fun review to write. So if you're into in-depth reviews, I do a ton of them here. I usually buy these things out of pocket. Watching and subscribing to my channel is a huge way to support my small business without spending a dime, and you get quality content to boot. This came out on August 11th, and props to Samsung for shipping pre-orders out early. The two color options are kind of dull. The one I have here is beige, but they also have a graphite option online. And the price starts at $1,200 for 12 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of storage. Now, Samsung did and is still offering some trade-in discounts and bundled deals. If you need more storage, there's also a 512 gig option, and there's also a 1 terabyte option with 16 gigs of RAM. But given how zippy the 12 gigs of RAM model is, I don't think you need to upgrade to the 1 terabyte option just for 16 gigs of RAM, because this also packs in a micro SD card slot with a capacity of up to 1 terabyte. I know, I was excited about that too. Now, usually when I'm talking about hardware devices like this, I jump right into the design, but I really want to talk about the user experience on this tablet. Samsung's One UI 5.1 is included. Mine is now up to date with 5.1.1. Now, even though this is not vanilla Android, which is my preferred way of using Android, I find that the One UI is very streamlined for tablet use. So for example, Samsung made little choices with the UI that makes it super intuitive on this big screen. Like, see this taskbar down at the bottom? You can have that show you 2 to 4 recently used apps over on this side, and you can also hold down on the taskbar and make it disappear or hide down onto below the screen. You can also hold again and make it reappear. The icon down here in the bottom left, that actually pulls up your app dock, so you don't have to swipe up or go home to find all your applications. You can just click on that icon and make them pull up right there. So that's really nice and intuitive. Multitasking is also incredibly useful. So whether you are pulling up apps side by side or you're pulling them up top and bottom, below and on top of each other, it's actually really usable on this big screen either way. I can open 3 different apps like I have here in docked panels, and then I can open another one in a floating panel, and I can switch them with ease. Samsung also built in Dex Support, so you can connect the tablet to a bigger TV or a monitor via wireless or HDMI. Samsung's Quick Share and Android's Nearby Share work flawlessly. I'm able to use those all the time. This is still a rather huge display to work with though, as you can see when I hold it up here. So typing can be kind of a hassle. I am planning to purchase a keyboard cover for mine so that I can use it for script writing. With that said though, I like to use the Gboard. I haven't switched this over yet, so this is just the regular Samsung keyboard, but you do have a few different options in terms of how you can customize your keyboard whenever you're using it on this big screen. So you can go in between these different preferences, kind of depending on how you feel most comfortable. And when you switch it the other way, you can also customize those as well. Ta-da, like so. But the included IP68 S Pen is really nice to use on here. They have this excellent palm rejection, which really helps given that I'm a lefty. And the rubberized tip gives you a really nice bit of friction. It's sort of like using paper. It's not too slippery on the screen, and the response is really impressive. It's also about the same width as a normal pen or pencil, so it's very comfortable to hold in hand. You don't get tired or achy from holding it. Now, even though it charges both ways when you have it attached to the back like this, it actually does not charge whenever you stick it on the top of the device up here, attaching it to the rim. That's something of a con for me, given that's usually where I end up attaching my S Pen. Games look lovely. They're super fun to play on such a big screen. In both productivity and gaming use cases, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 with the Qualcomm Adreno 740, which also includes ray tracing, they really shine. For example, I have all these 3D Mark test scores, and I was also able to play a couple of different video games on here, but I am looking for some recommendations for mobile gaming that y'all would recommend, so let me know what your favorite games are down below. I'm using this quite a bit, and on my heavy usage days, I can get about 11.5 hours of screen on time. Usually it's a lot more because I don't have the screen on full brightness all day long unless I'm testing the battery. So for example, one day I left it at home when I had my hair appointment and I did not even turn it on. I turned it on the next day and the thing still had a 100% battery life. That's amazing to me, even though I did not charge it overnight. So that tells me that the standby battery drainage is incredibly low. It means that it will hold that battery percentage for a very long time if you never even turn the thing on. So if you use it very sparingly, this thing will last you several days with no charge. You will not have to charge this thing every single day. And given that the battery is a 11,200 milliampere hour size, that's a big positive. Wired charging via the USB-C 3.2 Gen 1 port can actually hit 45 watts super fast charging with a compatible charger, which is not included in the box, though a cable is. That's a bit disappointing too, given that this can be used as a laptop replacement. Having a high-end charger included would have been nice. Now, while the face unlock like that, it works really quickly. It's very smooth. I was excited to see that there's also a fingerprint sensor too, and it's in the screen. So not a capacitive button sensor like the ones that we see on the Fold 5 and the Flip 5 power buttons. It's not ultrasonic though, like the one on the S23 lineup. It's optical. Now Qualcomm put the faster ultrasonic sensors in the S23 phones, but optical is slower and it requires light to read your fingerprint. I was disappointed that it's not using ultrasonic. You can see tests of these side by side in my fingerprint sensor deep dive video to prove that ultrasonic is indeed faster. You can definitely tell if you use like an S23 Ultra next to the S9 Ultra that this one with the optical fingerprint sensor is definitely slower. Now, while Wi-Fi 6E is super fast, I was also disappointed that the larger S9 Ultra does not have an option for 5G LTE, but the smaller S9 Plus does. Now that would have been nice for travel too, since I don't necessarily want to connect to public Wi-Fi for security reasons. I mean, hello, I used to work at Hack5 and we built the Wi-Fi pineapple. Like that's the reason why nobody wants to connect to public Wi-Fi. I'm not gonna connect to public Wi-Fi. And hotspotting from my phone is quite slow.
There's not even any service. Just let us be happy for a minute.
You would think that this device would be super fragile, but I have been carrying it around for about 2 weeks and it doesn't have a scratch on the entire thing. I checked before I started recording. It's definitely built to withstand some banging around like in your purse. The casing is an armor aluminum with an aluminum frame and back. The front is Gorilla Glass and it is IP68. It's actually one of the only tablets with that durability. It's only 1.62 pounds, so it's definitely portable and it's incredibly thin. In fact, it's thinner than I think all of my phones. This thing is so freaking thin. It's 5.5 millimeters or 0.21 inches. That's is very thin. It's tiny. Now this display is great for entertainment too. It is a 14.6-inch dynamic AMOLED 2X display with support for HDR10+ too. It has the 120 Hz refresh rate that really shines on here, as does watching HDR content. The aspect ratio works really well for movies and TV shows, and it's pretty bright for outside viewing as well. The speakers on here pack a pretty nice punch, and there are 4 of them. There's one here, and then the other 2, one there and one there. They are tuned by AKG, which is a leading audio company, and they also support Dolby Atmos, though you do have to enable that in the settings. It does not come enabled out of the box. The screen is beautiful. I find myself choosing this device just to have this big, gorgeous display to look at, especially if I just want to chill and like Netflix and chill. Now, if you watch my channel for these reviews or my very dry and somewhat weird humor, I do have a few ways down below where you can support my work, especially when I do videos like this one that don't have a sponsor attached. I'm only able to cover the cost because of folks like you who watch my videos and subscribe and join on the membership. So huge thank you. I appreciate you so much. Now, you probably noticed this weird little camera notch that cut out at the top. It's really not that obvious whenever you're using the Tab S9 Ultra. There are 2 front-facing cameras. That's why it's kind of wide up there, that little notch. Nothing outstanding, but if you do things like Google Meet calls or similar, they are high res enough to look better than average, and you can also use auto framing whenever you're using the ultra wide 16:9 camera, and that's kind of a cool feature. There are cameras on the back too, but they are nowhere near the quality you will get out of today's phones. Please don't be that person who holds up your tablet to take pictures. It's so weird. Use your phone instead and get the best quality that you can get out of a device that you have in your pocket or in your hand. But these rear cameras are useful if you're just like video calling somebody or you want to show them something real quick and you flip around the cameras. In that case, that's reasonable. So it ain't perfect, it definitely ain't, but man, I am loving this form factor for my lifestyle. It just works so well for me. It's so nice, it's so lightweight and so slim, but it has that big, beautiful display that I oftentimes find myself needing for work. It definitely is expensive, but as an Android user, this is kind of a device, like a premium device that fills a gap that was missing in my life. I am really glad that I opted to buy the biggest one since I have been using it so much. Samsung could definitely fix a few of those little issues that I noted in my review, but they are small problems when looking at the device as a whole. I would love to know what you think as well, so comment down below, especially if you have any questions about this. I've been using it almost every single day since I got it, and I'm very, very satisfied with this device. Thanks again for watching. Thank you so much for subscribing. I'll see you next time. Bye, y'all.